So the noble truth number two is the causes of suffering. So here, basically, what Buddha's teaching was that once, so in the noble truth one, what the teaching was to first acknowledge the suffering, right? Recognize the suffering as it is arising, right? So if I have stomachache, I say I I recognize that I have stomachache right now. I do not try to cover up my stomachache. In noble truth number two, causes of suffering. So once we have recognized the suffering, we now look into the causes of suffering, right? We look into and that what kind of spiritual and material foods that we have ingested that has caused this suffering, right? So whatever we ingest, whatever food we take, that causes either happiness or suffering. Now there are not only what we eat is not the only food. So as per Buddha's teachings, there is a full discourse on the four kinds of nutriments. I have given the link in the description. You can check out that full discourse. So Buddha says that there are four kinds of nutriments, and they they can create either happiness or suffering depending upon what nutriment you consume. So first is the edible foods, the food we eat. Then there is self sense impressions, that through engaging in various sense pleasures, whatever, like even watching TV, right? When we watch TV, what happens is our subconscious mind becomes open, and those impressions get registered in our subconscious mind. So if you watch too much of sexual content, so it kind of waters the seed of lust in you, and then the seed sprouts in terms of all these lustful feelings coming up, right? Third is volition, and fourth is consciousness. So in this video I'll not be going in detail about the four nutriments, but what we eat, not only through food but through sense impressions, the way we listen to gossip and all those things, that creates suffering. So we need to go deep into our suffering, look at what has created our suffering, right? So that has to be our practice. So what Buddha says, that we need to be our own doctor, right? So like what a doctor does is that the doctor conducts first a diagnosis, that what is causing this particular issue. So we need to be our own doctor. Now if something is very chronic or something is problematic, then definitely you can get in touch with a therapist, because a therapist is trained to you know go help you go deep into those things. So that is another thing. But constantly we need to get in touch with our own suffering and look deeply into what is causing our own suffering. Now how we can do this? With the daily practice of sitting meditation, walking meditation, bringing mindfulness to our day-to-day activities, journaling, right? Journaling is a practice. In my course I suggest that, in as part of the daily routine, journaling is the most powerful practice of looking deeply into our things, right? Even in meditation, if something comes up, if some seed of suffering sprouts, then you write it down, that today in my meditation I experienced this, right? So first you recognize, and then you can then look deeply into what I have done, what spiritual food or material food I have ingested that is causing this, right? So then you can do, then another thing is that you can talk to a good friend, trusted friend, or you can talk to your teacher, or you can talk to a sangha member, right, who can understand and who can guide you. Sometimes what happens is, what Thai beautifully writes in the book, is that sometimes our defects, our our certain traits, that even a small child can tell, our own child can tell my, like, daughter sometimes used to tell me in the initial days when I was not very mindful. She used to say that, Papa, you do a lot of overthinking on a particular thing. You think a lot, your thinking keeps on going. So the child recognizes what is going on with the parent, but as a parent I don't recognize, right? So that's why in any sport you have a coach who guides you, who trains you, right? And who is able to observe your faults, right? So but we are like, why it happens is because we are so imprisoned in our own thinking patterns and all, right? So we have this second noble truth is about looking deeply into our own suffering. And once we know that, okay, this thing is causing me, maybe uh, this particular food that I have ingested, that is causing me to, and it helps, it comes through insight. You start realizing what is causing this problem. Then you can take a strong intention not to consume that food, or you can take a vow not to consume that food, right? So, and with our practice of mindfulness, our intention becomes more and more powerful, right? If we don't practice mindfulness, then our intentions we take, but they are very weak. But the mindfulness, when we practice, the spiritual reserve that we create kind of supports that intention. So this is the noble truth number 2, causes of suffering. In the next video, I'll be covering the noble truth number 3, which is cessation of suffering. Right? Thank you.